Hello. Hopefully this recording is going to help you when it comes to doing the work for your assignment. Basically, if you're familiar with what's on Moodle and you've had a go at the seminar questions, then you should be in a reasonable position to start thinking about the assignment. Now, if we look at the seminar questions, the first one that asks how does the What is Crime project differ from the images provided by the Police and Crime Commissioner's online advert. Now, in that question there, hopefully you've been able to think that in the second video, images of, in inverted commas, street crime seem to be the dominant form of activity that's shown there. And in that you've got to think of the perpetrators, in other words those committing the crimes, tend to be of a similar kind of person. They certainly seem to be very a different kind of perpetrator to those that's in the What is Crime video. Now, once you've seen the differences between the two visions of what crime is, you need to remind yourself of the table that's in that article by Panterzies and Pemberton. That table shows that there are many harmful statistics, many harmful things. In fact, they're more likely to occur than some of the more stereotypical forms of crime. Yet, despite the fact that they're more likely to occur and possibly more harmful, they are hidden from the public view. So you need to be clear with that article, and remember that's how you reference it in your bibliography or list of references at the end of your answer. In the main body of your answer, that is how you reference that particular source. Now, if you looked at the seminar questions for the 14th, then question 1 is revealing the Ministry of Justice and the Home Office, and they need to be referred to as representing the executive power in the criminal justice system. So these two government departments are an example of the executive power. Now, if you had a look at that chapter and you looked at in regards to the division of labour, on page 278 there is a list of which area of crime is given to which particular body. So there is a division of labour, it is divided up. A negative consequence of this has been the second question, which is getting you to consider the position of law centres. Now, law centres are similar to citizens' advice bureaus, but concentrate on legal matters. They are vital resources for a community these days, particularly as there are being significant cuts in legal aid, and also the fact that everybody is assumed to know the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. That is the assumption. That is a fairly questionable assumption, particularly for many people who don't have access to solicitors and barristers. Then I was hoping that you would consider the problems identified by Walters and Martin. Now, this source can be seen in the second block on Moodle. So it's that source there, the Walters and Martin source, and that source reveals that there are 30,000 deaths every year due to air pollution, deaths, premature deaths, what's referred to as, and these illnesses and the build-up of this harm apparently costs £20 billion a year. to the National Health Service. And despite the number of deaths and the financial costs, on the top of page 7 of this article, the authors use the term that there appears to be a get out of jail free card going on for the perpetrators of this pollution. And if you do read the article from around page 7, you'll be able to see that companies pay for this privilege. So companies buy their way out of appropriate legal action. So in terms of semiology, you need to be thinking about the harms that's revealed in these 2 blocks on Moodle. So, for example, criminal obsessions, chapter 1 is what you need to be familiar with in that source. The harm audit I've already mentioned, and then we've got some examples about tax and potential crime. The crisis of enforcement is referring to unsafe systems of work. The pollution from Walters and Martin, and also then food crime from Hazel Crowell. These are examples of the evidence that these sources have provided is evidence of what can be achieved from semiology and looking at crime in a fairer way. So once you've done that and familiarise yourself with those questions, you need to make a plan. And here, this is the assessment criteria. This is what forms the basis of your answer. So to start with, you must be displaying knowledge of why semiology is important. You then need to do the other aspects that's mentioned there. Now, as regards to the constitutional framework, I advise you to look at your lecture notes from week commencing October the 7th. That is the lecture where we discussed the rule of law, and as I say, that would be a source there. Now, in terms of the academic sources, the sources that I've just pointed out on Moodle, that's the easiest for you. So follow the simple rules on referencing and that will do the trick. Now, to get into the 50s, the word analysis is present. To do this, I would advise you to consider the principle of separation of powers. And as you can see on Moodle, that is the topic that we'll be doing straight after half term. So separation of powers, the fact that powers are meant to be separate, but in our legal system, obviously, possibly they are not as separate as they should be, and that leads to problems. Then with the other criteria, if you've done what we've said in regards to the sources, then you will have looked at these points, and basically to get into the highest categories, we're then talking about the importance of the word evaluate and of the term critical thinking. So in other words, if you can do some of the things that we've talked about, but also thinking about why the rule of law does not seem to work, or whether the rule of law does apply. You need to be thinking about that, and hopefully these final few points will help you do that. So basically, it is important that you think of the unequal treatment of crime. So the resources that's put in for dealing with them needs to be considered. Also, the discourse. The discourse is the language that is used in response. Is it strong language for some people and not others? So you need to be thinking about that. And also in regards to invisibility, can this project help? Can this project help some people get the justice that they're being denied? Now, in terms of reasons for hidden crime, then hopefully you've managed to access criminology today, because there's some examples of these points in the copy of criminology today, so hopefully you can look at that. Basically, if you have, then you'll be able to appreciate that some victims are given much more coverage than others from the media. They're given much more help from politicians and also from the legal system. So these points there, disempowered victims and the attitudes of the media. Please remember, the old saying, if something bleeds, it leads. So in other words, if there's blood, it'll be on the front page. It's that kind of thing that the media wants to report. Basically, problems with this can be, as we've discussed in sessions, but also, when it comes to society, their imagination is surely shaped by things that's in the newspapers, although assuming people still do read newspapers. Then you've got to be thinking about the advert that you've seen from the police crime commissioners, and also the voodoo criminology, if you've been able to access that. So my advice is, when you're thinking about photography, it's the topic rather than the photograph which is more important. So it's not a contest to do the best photograph. It is, if you've justified your choice of harm, then that is what will score you the marks. That will be your example of critical thinking and your evaluation. So, have you thought about how harmful your harm is? In other words, you need to think of all the harms that are connected with it. So, for example, are there hidden victims in the thing that you've taken a snapshot of? Are there hidden victims in your community? Are there hidden victims at work? Things where people are being harmed, and it would be a more just world if these harms were given some attention. So, in terms of indirect harms, for example, if unemployment is something that you want to demonstrate in some way, or some other form of economic disadvantage, in terms of unemployment, this kind of evidence can be used by everybody. Unemployment is not only harmful in terms of inequality, but also we'll see from a good period of research that unemployment increases the numbers of deaths from suicide. So there appears to be, according to research that was published in the Lancet, for every 1% increase in unemployment, there is a 0.79% rise in suicides at ages younger than 65 years. So there would appear to be a link between suicide and unemployment. Now, the reason, or possibly one of the reasons why the harm that can come from suicide isn't given as much attention by the media and politicians is because they're classified generally as being unintentional. But hopefully some of the images and things that you've already looked at would question the importance that intention is given over prevention. If prevention of harm is what a legal system should do, then it shouldn't limit itself to the traditional classifications of crime, where you've got a clear, allegedly intentional offender. The word intention is a complicated word, as you may well discover throughout your studies. But as I say, this idea that things have to be intentional, it does mean that there are many victims who could have been prevented from suffering. So, if you've done that, please think about these things and then look at that PowerPoint on Moodle. That can be basically a draft kind of outline of your answer, and hopefully this will help. Thank you.